covered all pathologies and conditions. But let's say now it's a degenerative problem. The disc has degenerated, meaning that what's happening to the intervertebral foramen?
Smaller.
Getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So as this case gets severe, moderate to severe, and I have these listed out for you. Thank you. I have these listed out. Oh, we have good news, doesn't help you guys. But we had a fundraiser and we had alumni weekend this last, and so we got $20,000 for Therex because all the past PTs and PT assistants said, you guys don't have enough equipment. And so they donated money. And so next year's class is going to have, I'm going to probably spend about $15,000 this summer. Yay, I'm going on a shopping spree. And we're going to get a bunch more bolsters, we're going to get some more equipment. Not that it helps you guys or anything. But you can be proud that, oh yeah, your alumni has a cool...
We're alumni, we have to do
yeah. Yeah. So, when that gets worse and worse and worse, we get what we call spinal stenosis. Have you heard that term? If not, you'll hear it on Tuesday morning. So, if I extend, that's not good, right? Just like if I flexed with a disc protrusion, that would not be good, right? So now we have an opposite side type of scenario of which we want to promote flexion, which will promote that intervertebral space to open and allow. So now we want to, all right, let's tuck in underneath. Usually this is a chronic problem, so we don't need ice. We'll tuck in the heat pack. We'll tuck underneath the electrodes, and they rest in this position. And then, as they are on the E-stem, as they're on the hot pack, I say, all right, I'm going to teach them to do you remember what the first progression is with the Williams flexion?
Posterior pelvic tilt.
Posterior pelvic tilts. Neutral pelvis is with the stabilization program. Posterior pelvic tilt promotes lumbar spine flexion or lumbar spine extension?
Flexion.
Flexion, is that what we want? So I teach him, some clinics will call it abdominal bracing. Some clinics will call it posterior pelvic tilts. Some clinics will call it submaximal isometrics to the abdominals. You see how it's all the same? Now I can kind of talk to you a little bit more about it. Those synonyms, how silly they can be sometimes. But to help the patient, a lot of times I'll grab onto their ASIS and then grab onto their posterior pelvis and say, I want you to tighten your tummy and roll your hips this way. That might be a what we call a manual, MC''S, manual cues. I might slide my hand underneath their back and I say, I want you to tighten these muscles and push your back into my hand. Good? And then I say, all right, do you feel these tummy muscles contracting? Yes, I do. And we're educating them the whole time. What comes next? Do you remember?
Knee to chest.
Single knee to chest. What I'd like you to do is reach up and grab your knee and pull it to your chest. You don't have to force it anything major, but does this promote a posterior pelvic tilt? Lumbar spine flexion, right? Then I might progress to a double knee to chest. Do you remember I wrote these abbreviations for the practical exam in Therex? And I said, what's that one mean? What's that one mean? What's that one mean? And I just kind of randomly picked them or made you do them all if I was a little bit weary of your knowledge. But I'm not worried anymore. Then what comes next? Huh? No. These, relax. Put your hands on your thighs, and I want you to just barely curl up your spine and touch your kneecap. There you go. Back up. Come up and back up. Come up and back up. And then what do I do next? Obliques. Come up and touch and back up. Come up and touch. It's not a sit-up. It's a slight crunch. What is this promoting? flexion, right? And the muscles that flex. Now, a couple of these were passive, and a couple of these were active or resistive, right? Since it's not, this is where the argument comes. Is this resistive exercise? No, for boards in my test and in the physical therapy world. But technically, I'm lifting the weight of my arm. So, you have to understand, it does not become resistive until I put a weight. It could be 1/4 pound, but it's still a weight. So this is where it's a little bit of controversy. Yes, you have to contract the abdominals. But were the single knee to chest contracting anything? No, that was a stretch. Double knee to chest? So you'll get a question, which of the following exercises would exercise your hip flexors? And they'll give you, leg raises, and they'll give you single knee to chest, double knee to chest, and all the above. It's not all the above, because a single knee to chest is a stretch. I'm not strengthening my hip flex, and commonly missed, which means
Option.
on the test. Good? So as he's doing this, he's gaining more and more and more flexion, and he is kind of introducing some light abdominal work to prepare him to enter a lumbar stabilization program. Good? Now, while he's doing this, we're not going to have any symptoms going down the leg. If we do, they should be decreased with more and more and more flexion. Now, you may get some, right? So much spinal stenosis that it starts to compress the nerves. But it's not the disc compressing the nerve, it's the bony structures compressing the nerve. So severe stenosis, you start to get some symptoms down the leg, just like disc herniations, except it's not the disc that is compressing it, although it's the disc's fault for degenerating, but now it's the bone's fault for compressing it. Good? So those are two opposite case scenarios, of which I'll give you, after Tuesday, you'll have all the case scenarios that would belong to the Williams flexion, and all the case scenarios that would belong to the McKenzie extension. Good? So, for about 15